Good morning. We're celebrating the 13th week in Ordinary Time. This week I thought I would just review for all of us the canonization of men and women and even young children, as was recently done in Fatima by Pope Francis, of two of the children who Our Lady appeared to. Basically, though, there are four stages that the Church goes through when it takes up and begins to look at the life and the virtues of a given man or woman. The first stage begins in that person's local diocese, or a place where they spent a good majority of their earthly lives. And that investigation is supervised by the diocesan bishop, who will appoint either a priest, or could be a permanent deacon, or could be a religious sister, as the chief investigator, and they compile all kinds of information. Well, all of that, when it's complete, is forwarded to Rome, to the Congregation for Saints. And then they re-examine everything that's been collected, and if they find there's clear indications of that person's worthiness and holiness of life, that person can be formally called the servant of God. Well, that's step one. Then step two is taken over by the Congregation for Saints, and a very long and even more detailed investigation into every aspect of that person's life is conducted by the members of that congregation in Rome. And should that then produce an equally obvious and valid result of this person really lived the life of heroic virtue, that person then can be declared venerable. At this point then, after the person has been declared venerable, the Holy See requires a certified miracle, and in most cases 2 miracles, attributed to this virtuous and venerable man or woman's intercession with Almighty God on behalf of someone still living on earth at that time. And if that's proved, of course, then that person, at a certain point, the Holy Father certifies all of what has been investigated and presented to him as factual. In certifying that, that person then, in a very solemn ceremony, is beatified. The person then is referred to as blessed so-and-so. The final process then continues with an even more rigorous investigation into, again, as much as can be determined about this now beatified person's earthly life. And there's also the requirement of at least one more miracle. And so when that's certified, then the Holy Father again signs a formal decree stating that on a certain date, this person, to the mind of the Church, is living the life of perfect happiness and sanctity in heaven, and is to be declared a saint. And then that person is proposed to the whole Church for our veneration and for our imitation in our own lives. And so the process for canonization and sainthood is quite rigorous, can be very long, and sometimes extends, does not end up in canonization, but because of lack of further information, A person may, for our purposes, be blessed or just venerable. Doesn't mean the person wasn't, worthy of heaven, and it doesn't mean that the person is not in heaven. It just means that the Church cannot obtain any more insufficient information in the present set of circumstances to proceed further. So the Church is wise in being very careful and slow and deliberate in all of these circumstances of looking at the goodness and holiness of its own Catholic faithful who have lived and died loving God and loving their neighbor. May you have a wonderful week this week and continue to enjoy our summer months.